Welcome to the Donnie B Show on the MAGA Locally platform. Today we have a special guest. He's running for governor of Missouri. His name is Chris Wright. Chris, welcome to the program.
Donnie, I appreciate you having me.
Hey, I got to meet you for the first time at Lincoln Days the other night. Got to listen to you get up there on the stage and speak with the other contestants, and I like what you're saying. Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself, where you're from, your family? What made you decide to run for governor?
Yeah, so real quick, my family, I'm married with 4 kids. Pray for me. I've got 4 teenagers and an adult son. 3 of them are in high school, 2 of them are girls, and sometimes, teenage
I
girls.
got I got two myself, two boys, 17 and 13. So I know what you're going through, but not
Well,
quite to the level that you are. I don't have that many.
sometimes hormones can get the best of them, but no, they're
Right.
really they're great kids. But yeah, my background, I've got 24 years in the military, 9 years in law enforcement, 17 years as a business owner. I own a construction company, which is kind of morphing into a real estate investment company. It's
Ah,
just kind of naturally taking its course, and hey, I'm just going to roll with it.
awesome. Yeah, being a business owner, it can be rewarding, but it's also very difficult. I've been an entrepreneur myself. I was a former military as well. Got
Thank you.
out, did a contracting business, ran a restaurant for a while, and yeah, so I know the pains and the hard work that goes into being entrepreneurship. Because
Yeah,
when you start off, you're the marketer, you're the salesman, you answer the phone, you clean the floor. So I got you on that one.
well, and you said restaurants. Like, wow, that's probably one of the hardest businesses to run is the restaurant industry.
Yeah, I told my wife, I'm like, yeah, when we're done with this, I'd rather go back to Iraq than run another restaurant.
Yeah, at least in Iraq, you do your work and you go back to
Right,
base, and there's
right.
not a whole lot of things that can really get messed up as far as you know what your mission is, do your mission, complete it, go home.
Speaking of mission, what I found that when I was in the civilian sector, the military, we go to school to learn how to make decisions. I
Yep.
mean, they ingrain it into us. We go to schools for weeks and weeks at a time just on the decision making process. So, I think citizens these days, they're tired of the people that go to Jefferson City or to Washington, D.C., and they go there with great intentions, but not necessarily making the best decisions for the constituents that they're there to represent. So, can you tell us just a little bit about your decision making? I asked some of the other folks that are running for city council or other state positions, if something comes across your desk, are you going to look at it under the view of, does it make my citizens less free or more free? Does it add a more tax burden or a less tax burden?
So
Just some of those insights of maybe how you might, look at something and then frame that and make a good decision off
So,
of it.
so part of my decision process is, what's it going to cost? But a lot of my decision process is, what's that going to do down the line in the future? How's it going to affect people? How much is this going to cost? Is it ethical? Have I done all my research to make sure I'm making the best decision possible? Because I like to make my decisions based off of facts, not opinion, not rumors, hearsay, anything like that. So I really do just try to, put all those things together whenever I make decisions.
Absolutely. I learned a valuable lesson. I'd make a list. One was facts and one were assumptions. And as soon as I could start crossing off those assumptions and turn them into facts, I started getting a more clear vision of the decision I needed to make.
Yep.
What values were there. So
And you've heard the term whenever you assume. I won't say it
exactly.
on air, but
Uh,
everybody knows the saying.
Oh yeah. And another topic I've been hearing all around Jefferson City and actually all across the country with our borders wide open. People are concerned, specifically China and other foreign companies are coming in and wanting to purchase Missouri farmland. We're a natural resource heaven because we got good drinking water, we got crops, we got good ground to raise cattle, and even like the pork processing plants have bought up by the Smithfield pork processing's been bought up by the Chinese. You can just count. There's probably 20 to 30 throughout Missouri that people don't realize are owned by the Chinese government. So what's your thoughts about the foreign companies owning property in Missouri?
So I'm not going to list. I don't think we should ban all foreign. I think it should be our adversaries because if you think about it, Missouri is fueled by a lot of money from foreign invest, like Budweiser. I don't agree with how they use that Dylan Mackel, whatever. But Budweiser has contributed a lot of money into Missouri, and they're not adversaries. So
Right.
I don't want to say all foreign government entities because there are foreign government or foreign national, however you want to word it, that are very good for Missouri, bringing in a lot of jobs, a lot of economic growth, tax revenue, stuff like that. But yes, absolutely, China, North Korea, Russia, those they're just bad countries. I 100% fully support any type of ban for those companies, or I mean for those countries.
Neighboring states like Kansas, of course, they have lots of farmland, and they've had mismanaged their water supply. Same way with California. So a lot of these states have wasted their water. And then you have states like Missouri that we're pretty plush with water. We got some rivers running right through our state that, and the lakes and the reservoirs that we have.
Well, we got
Yeah,
two
I've been.
major rivers that touch Missouri. You got the Mississippi and the Missouri River. We've got wonderful lakes.
Absolutely.
Like you said, we have a large abundance in natural resources reserves. And I kind of want to go back to whenever you're talking about Smithfield's foods, the pork industry, the chicken industry, and what I want to put out there, why China is so dangerous. I'm going to break it down to military terms. So whenever you are a country and you want to take over another country, and that's what China wants to do to the United States, not just Missouri, but the United States. What is the first thing you do if you're an adversary of another country and you want to take over that country? You affect the supply chain.
Yep.
Well, China owns most 90 some percent of the pork market in Missouri. Same with the chickens. I didn't realize it till down here in, not too far, Knoll, when the Tyson plant shut down. Well, it's, I think, 97% owned by China. Guess what they're doing? They're shutting down our supply inventory to where they're making it more difficult to get or even more expensive to get. It, China is awful, and we've got to stop them at all costs.
You're absolutely right. You talk about strategic standpoint, you always want to go after the supply lines and their communication. And if you can't cut out their communication, you want to be able to manage it. And so a lot of our social media, a lot of our media on a national level have Chinese interests that own parts of.
And that's what I was going to say. They've already infiltrated the media aspect of it, and not to scare anybody, but they've infiltrated the food supply of at least two of our major meats, and probably getting close to a third with our beef.
Yeah, I
And they're
watched the show with the cattleman, and he said the beef industry is the last of them. They took the pork, they took the chickens, and now the beef. They're trying to hang on and prevent China from buying them out and just literally taking them over. So
yeah, it's not good.
yeah, so
And here's one thing I want to say.
yeah,
One thing that I am tired of our government, our leaders. They're being reactive instead of being proactive. We've got to stop being reactive. We've got to be more proactive. And I know they're working on it, but and this isn't a secret. This has been going on for years, years and years and years.
yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think the people are finally coming to the realization that we're under attack. When our own government is allowing hundreds of thousands of millions of people across our border, and then we're paying and giving them $5,000 on a credit card, and then flying them to hotels throughout the country, and then we have veterans that are standing on the corner with the sign trying to get some money. I think we know something's not right.
Right, and that's the thing. We're going to talk about the southern border. So one of my platform issues is human trafficking. Missouri's number 3, number 4, depending on what department you talk to. And that's not something that I want to lead the nation in is human trafficking. And it's with these open borders, it's more than just illegals coming across. It's the human trafficking. it's the terrorists, it's the drugs, it's all these things. And, I like to throw out truth bombs. Here's the facts. When they get to Missouri, which they're already in Missouri, there's not going to be this rounding them up, putting them on a bus, and deporting them. I was in law enforcement. I know law enforcement. These illegal immigrants are going to be hiding. They're going to be under aliases names. Again, this goes back to being proactive. We have got to use our National Guard, send them to the border, support Texas, and plug this gaping hole that's down there caused by the federal government. Because once they get here, I don't want to say it's over, but it may be over. And we can't get our state patrol. We can't use our law enforcement entities that we have now. We can a little bit, but we still have to protect the Missouri residents and
Right.
and take care of them. And we simply don't have the numbers in law enforcement. Missouri with the big cities, Kansas City and St. Louis, has been for years, defund the police. We hate cops. We don't support cops, blah, blah, blah. Well, look at what we're at. And it's not just the big cities. It's getting to the smaller cities. We have such a huge shortage in law enforcement officers. Who else is there to protect the citizens?
Absolutely. It's
This
your
is
National Guard. I mean, that's what your National Guard and that's what
Yeah,
they're
I'm in
for,
the
is for
National Guard,
state.
and that's what
Yeah.
we're here for. We're here
Right.
to protect our communities and our state and our country, should we be called up for that. And we've got, I believe, 8,500 guardsmen in Missouri. And if I was governor, I would have sent troops months ago. This has been going on for 3 years. I don't know why it's now all of a sudden an issue, other than for political purposes.
Absolutely. I want to shift the subject on you a little bit, because at a local level, I've interviewed some of the city council members or candidates that are coming in, and taxes are always an issue, whether it's at a local level, state level, or federal level.
Always.
So what is kind of your view on Missouri state tax, property taxes?
So anytime we can get a reduction in taxes is always good. I support a reduction in taxes, but I also know taxes, that's how we fund our public safety. That's how we fund our infrastructure. But I also believe there is a huge amount of waste in our in our tax spending. And whether you go local or state, it's the same. There's so much waste. As governor, I'm going to have line item veto authority on the budget. If it's
Right.
ridiculous, and I know this isn't in there, but and I always say it, if there's $20 million in there for hummingbird research to the University of Missouri, that's coming out. That is not the taxpayer burden. We have doubled our budget in the last 5 or 6 years, and I know a lot of it is ARPA funding, but we're still spending like we're getting that ARPA funding, in the
Right.
next couple of years. And we got a big cliff we're about to fall off of if we don't start making some major cuts.
One thing when you talk about taxes, also when you talked about China waging war on our logistics and also in our communication, they're also waging a currency war. But a lot of people don't realize, our inflation, we just didn't get here overnight. You know, our government has printed and printed and printed, and our adversaries want to see us have high inflation because it puts strain on the American people. Uh,
Exactly.
so I'm with you. Taxes, we've got to spend less. We got to cut out all the fluff. For example, when you bring in a program like DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, into the federal government, and you thrust that upon every government agency, whether it's education, you know, uh, whatever it might be. This administration has forced that down to the state level, and that creates, you have to put now position people of that type of position to administer that type of program. Government,
It
more
does,
government with
but
every good
here's
idea.
something I learned when it comes to the federal government, and even my position as governor, I feel like I'm that first line of defense against the federal government, as being basically the CEO of Missouri. I'll use my example when the Army told me I was going to get the COVID vaccine. I was like, no, it's not happening. That needle's not going in my arm. If you want to get the vaccine, which is not really a vaccine, if you want to get it, but don't force it upon us. And I
Right.
had to fight against the federal government on my own. I've already shown that pushback leadership ability against the federal government. And this was me on my own. I didn't have anybody at the state level, anybody at the military level backing me up on that. I had to do it by myself on my own. But right is right, wrong is wrong. I'm so sick and tired of the federal government overreaching their boundaries. And it's the same thing when it comes to me being governor. The federal government, they may want to do all these things, but they can go pound sand. It's not happening. And I will fight to the end for the people of my state if the federal government comes in and tries to mandate stuff. It's just not happening. I don't care if they're going to try to dangle federal dollars, threaten me, whatever the case. Because the thing that I learned, the federal government likes to bluff. They like
Yeah.
to. They have a big bark, but they're also like a 3-year-old. Give them 6 months, and they're gonna focus on a different disaster or whatever you want to call it. So, I I like to say I actually have experience fighting the federal government.
That's really got what got me involved in politics at the local and state level. I was at January 6th. I went to January 6th with my wife and I. I witnessed 3 days of people singing Amazing Grace, how great thou art. There were preachers, probably, I mean, million people there, preachers on every corner, and people were loving each other. There were plumbers, electricians, teachers, missionaries, school. I mean, from every fashion of life, they were there, and all they wanted to do was say, "All we want you to do is recount the votes," right? And then all of a sudden,
Right.
it turned into this big insurrection. I think we saw an overreach from the government trying to prosecute people that went up there on January 6th, and we're finding out that I think that's
Oh wow,
happening
shocker!
in many
The
sectors.
truth of what the media puts out is a little different than what you know. I'm so sick of the mainstream stream media, and I'll talk about the January 6th. So the people had every right to be there. Where people messed up is whenever they entered, but at most it should have been a trespassing charge, or if you did some property damage, or if you actually, uh, you know, harmed
Hey,
somebody.
right.
Yeah, pay you did the crime, pay the piper, but they put so many people in jail just for really just trespassing. And again, that's wrong, and that was an overreach of the government.
I was there firsthand, and I had people telling me that what I saw wasn't accurate, and I saw people just really, praying and saying, we want just justice, we want the truth. There
Yes,
was
people
really
just want the truth. That's all
that's all they
people
want.
want nowadays. And that's
Yeah.
why there's so many people that are attracted to my campaign, because I don't come from the political apparatus. I don't come from the Just City, whatever. I just speak the truth. Am I perfect? No, nobody on this earth is perfect,
Yeah.
but I just speak the truth. If it doesn't benefit me, I don't care. I'm still going to speak the truth because that's what we deserve.
So, before I don't want to keep you too long. I know you're busy running for governor. That's like a hot potato. You got to keep hopping from one place to the next to the next. I saw you at that last function. Is there anything, like on day one, if
So there's actually two things that I've got a list of 5 things that I campaign on, kind of you know, what I want to accomplish, the first 90 days, first 120 days, and not accomplish by fixing it, but getting getting movement to fix it, because we have a lot of issues that are not quick fixes. They're long term fixes, but we got to start somewhere, type of deal. The first one is crime, and like I said, it doesn't matter what city you go to, crime is completely out of hand, and it's the catch and release, it's the prosecuting of these criminals, and you know it's just very frustrating because I come from the law enforcement community, and I still have a lot of friends in law enforcement, and they're not starting, they're getting burnt out because they're busting their butts, doing their job, putting their life on the line, sacrificing time with their family, all the stuff to go catch the bad guys, and then they get released with a slap on the hand or a fine, and that's not right. And whenever crime rises, that affects everything else. It affects small businesses. Whenever there's high crime with, small businesses,
Oh yeah.
they're going to shut down because they can't keep up with it. It affects families. It affects everything. And then the other one is utility rates. So if you're on a co-op, you're probably like, well, my utility bills aren't that bad, but especially around the Joplin area. If you're on Liberty, if you're up in the Kansas City area, you're on Evergy. Over on the east side of the state is Ameren, up by the lake, Ameren. You know, people are getting decimated by their utility bills.
Yeah.
I've got one of my soldiers. He's a cop over in Cassville. He told me his electric bill last month was $750. I was like, well, how big's your house? He
Mine was 550. So
yeah, and
I
he
feel
said,
his pain.
it's like 1,400 square feet. I was like, it's
Wow.
gotten ridiculous. And what people may not know is the governor appoints the Public Service Commission Board. The Public Service Commission Board is who regulates the for-profit utilities. So if you look now, previous administrations have put, former lobbyists or former legislators on this board, and they're not doing a service to the public. And so I'm going to put everyday hardworking Missourians on that board. I'll probably put some sweet old little grannies on there that are suffering because they know what it feels like. And it would be different if the people had a choice on who they wanted for their utility, but they don't. They simply don't. And if I'm elected, I'm going to start pushing nuclear power. It's more powerful. It's a lot cleaner. It really is the way to go. And we teach nuclear science here in Missouri. We already have a reactor. To not go into nuclear, to me, is silly. So those are the two main things that really get me going with my campaign. And at the end of the day, it's what affects people. Yes, I'm running Republican. Yes, I'm conservative. Yes, I am a 2A guy. Yes, I am pro-life. But let's go a little bit deeper than that and find out what is affecting everyday Missouri. And that's where I'm at.
And I think that's where people are tired of the politician. They're tired of the career politician. They're wanting everyday people to get into positions of power.
I do too. A lot of people are like, hey, you picked the wrong time to enter because you're going against some big names. And I just tell them, well, if you actually visited all across Missouri, you would see that, these big names aren't as popular as they think,
Right. Well, Mr. Wright, I know you're busy. You got a lot of things going on today. Can you tell us where, if anybody would like to, first of all, I know how important donations are to a person like you. If you're not bought off by the special interest, every $5, every $10, every $100 from everyday working folk, that can make or break your campaign. Just to get yard signs, I heard costs like $30,000 just for a state legislator.
You're right, and I will say this: every $5 helps. Every little bit helps. And you're right. Look at my Missouri Ethics Commission report. I'm not bought and paid for by the lobbyists, the special interest groups, the political action committees. I really wanted to show people that I am different. I am a different person. I'm trying to change how politics are ran. And for people who don't know, how I'm getting where I'm at now is a year and a half of literal campaigning, the sweat equity. I've got a lot of money that I've contributed myself, but yes, every little bit helps. And the best place to do that is my website, and it's www.chriswright4mo.governor.com.
Okay. We'll post this. I'll put it on magalocally.com. I'll put it on our YouTube, Facebook. We got a Podbean account.
Let's try this. Maybe I can.
Yep, that looks good.
It looks backwards on my end.
No, that's perfect. Well, I'll make sure I put that in the comments below the video, and I'll probably have this posted. Today is Tuesday. I'll have this out Wednesday. So
you are quick.
It takes, I have a 17-year-old son who is the editor because we started this as a homeschool project a while back. I wanted to teach him how to get involved in the community, how we can help. On our website, we have a interactive community map. So if you see something that's not good in your community, whether it's a pothole, whether you see somebody roaming the street at night carrying a kid's baseball bat, which I saw today, I saw it last night. If you see somebody that's, that is maybe drug addicted, whatever it might be, you can post this, put a picture up, and it helps bring focus by the community so we can, one, pray about it. Because I have buttons on there. What would you like to do? I'm not saying go tell the police. I'm saying maybe we collectively can pray about this situation or this issue. Maybe collectively we can sign a petition and send it to our city leadership or our state leadership saying this is a problem. So really, we're just trying to get active, get the community active, get them behind people like you. Are supposed to hold our representatives accountable. So we're trying to do our part. Chris, another topic is personal property taxes. You go across the state and everybody's always complaining about personal property tax. I've lived in Texas when I was with the first cab. I've lived down in Florida. Some states have property tax, some don't. What's your thoughts on the property tax?
So I'm like everybody else. I hate paying personal property taxes. My truck is 7 or 8 years old. I've paid it off, but I still have to pay the personal property taxes at the end of the year. And I hate that I have to do it because, I do feel like it's being rented. But the fact of the matter is these personal property taxes is what funds our local, law enforcement, EMT, our schools. And so if you just get rid of personal property tax and don't replace that money, you just decimated every community in Missouri, especially the rural communities, because they rely on that money. Are there communities, are there counties that maybe misspend the personal property tax revenue and wasteful? Yes, of course, we're talking about government. That happens, but you got to replace that. And first place I start with whenever I want to get rid of something or think about getting rid of something as far as taxes is cut the spending. That's number one. But that you got to do more than just cut the spending. You're going to need to have other sources of revenue, whether that be raising the real estate, having a consumption tax, or there's a lot of people, go to Kansas City, St. Louis, they want sports wagering, tax that. They're already leaving Missouri, going to the other states and doing the wagers and coming back. So why are we going to miss out on that tax revenue? Do I like gambling and support? It's your money, do what you want. And there's a lot of people that I understand they can't control that, but we can't babysit everybody. And at the end of the day, it's not fair that people have to keep paying a tax if we can somehow get rid of it. So that's my 2 cents on the personal property. I hate it, but I understand it. And I pay it because I like being safe. One of the most important things is we, the people. And, last thing I want to say before we end this, and I say it all the time, when I'm campaigning, Jesus is king and he's what matters.
Weeks as your campaign progresses, maybe we can get you back on and see if you have any more thoughts or ideas. We'd love to hear from you.
Maybe after the beginning of May, just because it's Lincoln Day dinner season, and oh my gosh, I am all over. Appreciate it. Thanks, Donnie. Later.
Bye-bye.